Today we're beyond the gates in beautiful San Diego, and I have the privilege of talking to Edna Harper, whose lovely topiary garden we're going to discuss today. Edna, I heard that this garden started with a wild honeysuckle.
Absolutely. Wild from the neighbor's garden.
Okay.
But it was growing in little lumpy lumps. And so I sat across the street and I drew the figures that I thought would be the easiest for my gardener to replicate.
Okay. Now I realize there's no metal wiring to hold this together, so it's all basically plants.
It's all plant. And it's very brittle underneath, so we trim it daily, so
Wow.
he's just doing an errand right now, but he would be trimming it.
Oh, okay.
So.
Now I notice that there's different animals. I see elephants and camels and looks like Pedro, as you called him.
This is Pedro.
His gardener. And Edna, how many plants do you have?
Well, last count, there were about 54. I'm getting tired of counting. But we have a lot of children come and see the garden. All ages love the garden, which is really wonderful. I never thought that it would turn out so spectacular, so many people would love it. The big elephant in back is the first one.
Oh, so that elephant with the American flag was the first one?
With the little boy holding the American flag, yeah.
Okay. And then from there, it went
We just kept going, you know. It takes a long time to form them. And then once they're formed, then they just have to be kept trimmed.
Right. About how many years did it take to create this?
I started 25 years ago.
25, wow.
Yeah.
Are there any new figures coming into scope, or basically this is just maintaining
There's a Buddha that I had that reminded me of, all these things remind me of places I've been, but there's a Buddha up higher, and it reminded me of Japan, and it got sick, and so we had to cut it down. So it's growing now, and we want it to get bigger.
So these plants, I gather, are susceptible to fungus and bugs and all of that.
They get a lot of bugs. We have to spray, and my husband told me he didn't think I could do it.
Really?
Yeah, he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm drawing pictures so that Pedro can form the figures." And he says, "Impossible." And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, I'll pay for the water and gardener if it works out."
Oh, that's good.
Of course, he didn't know how much it was going to cost him.
Now, Pedro's your gardener, and he's still maintaining this?
He still is. He started when he was 25, and he's now 50. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
He's my savior.
Well, this is just a beautiful garden, and some of the blooms that are on these trees are
well, we leave
beautiful.
A few flowers because the hummingbirds love them, and but then they start to get out of shape, so then we have to
trim it back. Yeah. But the flowers do come back every year.
Yeah. And they're blooming constantly, especially if there's sunshine and rain. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing your beautiful garden with us today, Edna.
You're welcome. I'm happy to.
Oh, just lovely.
The one on the corner is a whale, an orca whale. That's for SeaWorld. Yeah. And then, what else do I have?
Which is your favorite? Or do you have a favorite?
Well, the bunny with the little dog, because the little dog looks like the little dog that I lost recently.
Oh, that's cute.
That's Lucy.
Yes, I see. It's a nice, that's a pretty big bunny.
Yeah, life-size, but...
Right. And Pedro looks pretty good, too, and I love his hat.
He's got a nice little tummy.
Okay, well,
that he doesn't like.
I appreciate the time that you've spent with us today and explaining your beautiful garden. And folks, if you're down here, please stop by and take a look at this beautiful garden. It's on Union Street off of Sassafras. So it's not too far from Old Town, not too far from the airport. It's in the middle of everything, but it's tucked away nicely in the hills. Edna, thank you for spending part of your morning with us. We really appreciate it. And if any of you are down in San Diego, please stop by and see this beautiful garden. Well, we're still in San Diego and we're at the Museum of Us in Balboa Park. And I'm with James, the Director of Communications and Production. I probably loused that up, James. Forgive
You're
me
close
for that.
enough. Don't
All
worry
right.
about it.
This museum has changed a lot. In fact, I thought for a minute it was a church when we walked in. Can you explain the front of the church, in front of the museum?
Certainly. That's actually a question that I get most often. People come up and say, was this building ever a church? It certainly looks like a church, and it was designed to look like a giant Spanish cathedral. And so in some ways you're not wrong when you make that assumption. But it was never a church. It was always a display area, museum, always since 1915, when the California-Panama Exposition started in 1915. This building was built for that.
Right.
And I think, most people come up to it and they see this, very intricately cast facade, and it's very beautiful. And one of the stories that we try to tell about that facade is that the sculptures that you see on it are 9 colonizers. And so the perspective of what is on the facade of the museum, really these colonizers are almost brought to kind of religious status by being on the front of this building that looks like a cathedral. But for Native American and indigenous communities, those 9 colonizers don't have the same significance to their history. It's a very different way of looking at those people. And so we have a Google Arts and Culture exhibit. You can go on Google Arts and Culture, which is an app on your mobile devices, and you can see a whole story about that facade from the indigenous and Native American perspective.
Oh, that's wonderful. Right now we're standing by the Mayan people, and this exhibit is wonderful. I noticed it almost looks like you brought everything up from Mexico and South America. Really, it's just beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Is this a permanent collection or is this a traveling collection?
So this is a permanent exhibit, and these stelae have been on display since 1915, and they're actually cast from the originals, which are on site in Central America. And that was a very kind of prevalent practice in the early 20th century with museums casting large objects. If they couldn't take them, they cast them and put casts in their place. So the casts are actually important because many people visit them, and scholars have visited them in the past, because they haven't had another 100 years of kind of degradation due to the elements. So they're very important for many ways, but this exhibit has been a core exhibit since the founding of the museum. But right after the pandemic, in kind of that year afterwards, we opened a new version of the exhibit, which is actually community driven. So members of the Mayan community came in and decided which objects should be on display, which objects shouldn't be on display, which were too sensitive to be on display. And all the exhibit text is written by Mayan community members. And it really exemplifies what this museum is about now, and it's really about community voice.
That's wonderful. And I noticed that you have an area called hostile terrain, and that's new since the pandemic too. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. San Diego is located right on this major international border. And of course, the stories around the border are complex and very polarizing. And what this exhibit does is really is meant to put sense of humanity on those stories, the statistics that we see about people who crossing the border to come to a better life in the United States. And one of the kind of core components of the exhibit is a map of the border area between Arizona and Mexico. And geolocated on that map are toe tags of individuals who have died making that journey. And we really want people to come into this exhibit and really start thinking about this subject that they see on the news every night, really through a more humane lens.
I heard that I read, I think, that it started, you have collections from people from 1848?
So the exhibit really starts to talk about really kinds of legal and government decisions from 1848, from when the border was developed,
right.
When the Mexico-U.S. Border was developed in 1848. The objects that are on display are really associated with people that journey across the border now, so in the 21st century.
Oh.
So, and then really, again, they're to put a human kind of story to these numbers that we see when you start seeing toothbrushes and shoes and objects that people left behind and lost as they made the crossing.
That is difficult to see.
Yeah.
Then my other question is, what programs do you have running now through December in case our people want to come down from Laguna to enjoy this? Is there any special programs coming?
So, 3 come to mind. We do a weekly yoga practice in the museum in the evenings, which is very, very popular. We're also, our poet laureate in San Diego, Jason Perez, is going to be doing some programs in November, 3 separate ones. So please go to our website, museumofus.org, to get all the details around that. He's absolutely amazing. And then also, something that happens every day here at the museum are California Tower tours. The California Tower, this part of the museum, is just an icon in San Diego. So we really encourage people to take the tower and see these amazing views from high above.
Now, was the tower built in 1815?
So the tower was built in 1915 as part of the
1915.
The California Panama Exposition, which this building was one of the key features of that exposition. But it was only open for the public really until the early 1930s, and then it had been closed. And we reopened it in 2015 to celebrate the centennial of the park. And it's kind of our gifts to the city and community to reopen this, icon of San Diego that most people had never been able to be inside, let alone seen the view from.
Now, I also heard that you added a room of secrets.
So
what's that about?
It's a great exhibit called Post Secret, and it's a community-driven exhibit as well. Frank Warren is the founder of Post Secret, and over a decade ago, he asked people to send him secrets that they had never told anyone anonymously to him on postcards. And since then, he's received over 1 million of them. So this exhibit has an amazing selection of those postcards, and some of them are funny, some of them are very sad, poignant. It ranges the whole, all the human's emotions you can see in these postcards. And also people send him actually objects with their secrets on them. So just recently this summer, we're now displaying some of the objects that people have sent him with secrets, and also the first mailbox that he had where he received the very first secrets of the Post Secret project.
Is that mailbox in the room where they can actually put their postcards?
So we do have a large mailbox. People can actually write their own secrets on postcards and put them in a mailbox, and then those are added to the collection, and we periodically change secrets in the exhibit.
Oh, very nice. And what other exhibits are here?
So I think, I really, I want to have people come and see the Living with Animals exhibit, which really explores the relationship with humans and animals. And it was recently voted one of the 10 spots that kind of make you cry the most by this travel writer because of these really poignant stories with people and their pets. And so I think that was really beautiful. But also I mention it because it's really kind of in its last year here at the museum. We're working on a new exhibit to replace our current race exhibit. And so that'll be going up in 2025, and it'll be taking the place of the animals exhibit. And so you need to come down and see that in its last year, because it won't be up that much longer.
Okay, especially you folks that have pets, it would be nice to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Now, do you still have your Egyptian collection? Is that a permanent one?
We do, and that has been here, a permanent display at the museum, and it's been refreshed in recent years too. And so there are really some amazing objects from Egypt, especially ones around kind of daily life. And so yes, please come and see them. They're certainly a favorite of San Diegans, all through the years.
I want to thank you, Jim, for this wonderful discussion and explanation of the museum, and hopefully we'll get some people from Laguna Woods down here so they can enjoy Balboa Park too.
Well, please, we'd love to have you. Please, we welcome everyone here.
Well, thank you again.
Very good.
Hi, we're now at a hidden gem in San Diego called Villa Montezuma. And it is a beautiful, beautiful home in Sherman Heights. Am I correct?
Yes, this is
And
the Sherman Heights Historic District.
Right, and I'm interviewing Louise, who's in charge of this beautiful place. So Louise, I wanted to ask you, when was this built?
This gorgeous house was built in 1887, and it was built by a man named Jesse Shephard, and he was a Victorian pianist and composer, but he also channeled the great composer. So he was a fascinating man who even later became an author.
Oh, and did he write under his name, or did he have a pseudonym?
Well, Jesse initially wrote under his own name, but taking a second career after being a pianist for 20 years, he decided to separate the music and the spiritualism. So he left the Jesse Shephard for the composing and music, and he took the pen name Francis Grierson. Francis was his middle name, and Grierson was his mother's maiden name.
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, this house is beautiful. The stained glass is magnificent. This is the best stained glass I've seen, including some of the cathedrals in Europe. Who did the stained glass work?
The stained glass is stunning, and Jesse used a firm called John Mallon and Sons out of San Francisco to do the glass. And when you come visit the Villa Montezuma, you are going to see some amazing examples. We're here right now in the music room. Each wall of the music room is a favorite of Jesse's. One wall dedicated to music, one wall to nature, one wall to poetry, another wall to painting. So all his favorite arts are displayed in the stained glass in this room.
Well, that's wonderful. I noticed that the stained glass behind me has a picture of Jesse's face in it.
Well, yes, if you see the portrait of Jesse behind you, he is 39 years old there, and he's tall and he's handsome and he's got a big mustache. And Jesse put his own portrait in the window behind us, representing the East and the West. So here's Jesse Shephard portraying himself in the window as a world traveler, because he was indeed a world traveler. He had been everywhere, and this room reflects his taste from his world travels.
Now, I noticed when we took the tour around that everything is basically located on the first floor, and it's in a circular area.
This house is a very interesting design. There's nothing standard about this Victorian house. Jesse designed this house for his own needs. So when you come visit the house, you go up stairs to the front door, and the main level is phenomenal. Not only do we have all this gorgeous woodwork and the beautiful stained glass, but it's in a very interesting configuration. It is in a big circle. And because Jesse designed it that way, we are so lucky this never got carved up into apartments where other houses did.
Well, I noticed all this woodwork is beautiful. Just Beautiful. What type of wood?
It's mostly redwood in here, and Jesse spent a fortune when he was doing this. He was invited to come to San Diego by two brothers, John and William Hine, and they had they wanted to develop the land here, and they too were involved with spiritualism. So what they decided to do was invite a celebrity to come to Sherman Heights to help convince people to move up the hill. Now, we have cars in our world today, hills don't bother us, but if you had to walk up the heights every single day, that would be a problem. So Jesse accepted their offer of use any architect, build anything that you want. That was a blank check to build your own palace. Who's going to turn that down?
Right, and this is the palace. This is just magnificent. Now, I heard you say that you have tours here.
Oh yeah, we do tours every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're guided tours. They're at 1 o'clock, 2:15, and 3:30. We do group tours, and your docent will be well informed about everything Jesse Shephard and Sherman Heights. They really are, it's a 1-hour tour, and it really is a fascinating peek back into time.
Now, do you schedule any other events in here besides?
We do a lot of different events. Jesse looked at this as a palace of arts, music, and literature. So we try to do art, music, and literature. We try to think of what would make Jesse proud. So we do things like a monthly opera series in here. We're young opera singers. We have a different theme each month, and it is wonderful to see opera like that. We have done Victorian salons in here, where we've had poetry readings and we've done one-act plays. We have done art shows in the house, and usually every spring into summer we have a different art show. Last year we did The Heart and Soul of Ukraine with 5 refugee Ukrainian artists living in San Diego. This past year it was the art of Marty Ornish, an incredible artist who uses vintage textiles and turns them into wearable art. So we do wonderful things like Dia de los Muertos here in the Sherman Heights Historic District. We've been celebrating that for 30 years, and we will be doing our big altar to Jesse Shephard. Then we will go into the holiday season, and we decorate this house so beautifully. We do what a Victorian gentleman would do, so it's not over frou-frou, but it is filled with Christmas trees and pine, and it is just lovely.
That's wonderful. You know, I noticed when we entered the villa that there were some pictures, authentic pictures of the villa during that time, and throughout the mansion you see the pictures. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
We are so lucky that when Jesse was done decorating the house in 1887, he invited the press in. And so the San Diego Union came in and they took photos and they did a wonderful front page article that tells us what was in each room, what kind of rugs, what kind of furniture, down to the color of the candles in each of the room. And that's what we use to restore the house.
And it is a historic landmark. You are registered as a historic.
Oh yes, we are on the National Register of Historic Places, and very grateful when people come because they appreciate historic preservation, they appreciate learning about history and about fascinating characters from the past.
Right. Well, this house is beautiful, and we're sitting here with a beautiful Persian rug depicting, it looks, the Persian Empire. I mean, each room has a beautiful rug in it. Just beautiful.
The house is filled with antiques. Now, they're not Jesse's, because when Jesse sold the house, because he was going back to Europe, he sold it fully furnished, so we don't have those belongings. But everything in the house is an antique, like our 1885 piano here, which plays beautifully, and which we use for our musical events.
Let me move so that people can see the piano.
We also do weddings here, which is another wonderful thing. So if capacity is 49 people, so if you're not having a big wedding, this is a lovely place to get married.
Oh, it is. It really is. Now, can you tell me, are there any special events going on in November?
We will have opera in November, and that is tremendous fun. We work with a nonprofit called Chin Balera. They love cinema, ballet, and opera, and they're young opera singers, and it's a different theme each month, and it's usually on a Monday night. Why? Because they're professional opera singers, so they're busy the rest of the week. But all that's on our website, and we'd love for people to come back. It's a very intimate setting here. So if someone comes in November, it's a perfect time to explore the holidays in San Diego and to come see this gorgeous house before it gets dressed up for the holidays.
Okay. And the workmanship throughout this house is just magnificent. So people come up and visit. They're located on K Street in San Diego, 1925.
Corner of 20th and K, and all information is on our website, villamontezumamuseum.org.
Thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate all your knowledge on this house.
Thank you so much.
You enjoyed our visit down to San Diego. It was a wonderful day and a wonderful experience. And I think that all of you would enjoy it. It's only an hour away, and it's an easy ride, as long as you leave after 8:30 in the morning. So enjoy the day, and I hope you come down to San Diego and see these wonderful places we've been to today.
Circle, and stairs lead us up to Jesse's personal retreat. At the landing, we are greeted by St. George, the patron saint of England, Jesse's birthplace. Upstairs is where Jesse Shephard began his writing career and transformed into the author Francis Grierson. Francis did his writing in the tower room, where he could see Coronado and the Hotel Del. While the view is very different today, it's still lovely.